Good morning, Saki. Makes me smile to see you. I'm not doing great today. I woke up feeling very slow. Like, I'm fine, my mood is fine, but I have so much sluggishness, or just like a weight of thoughts. Or the thoughts, they move slow. They're not unpleasant, but they're just, trucking along like a veil of slime. I don't know. Sometimes my mind gets like this. It's okay. Right? It's only bad if I label it as bad. I can just be slow. Right? That's alright. You can just be slow. You can be a slow person this morning. Involuntary contemplation. Yes, Sarah. That's just about right. But we're here. So we can say the words. Shema Yisrael Asher Eloheinu Yahweh Echad Vahafta et Anat Elohecha ובכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר נחים מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לעוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך וחיה כי הביאך אלוהיך אל הארץ אשר נספה אל אבותיך לעברם לישכח אל יעקב לתת לך ערים גדולות וטובות אשר לא בנית ובתים מלאים כל טובה אשר לא מילאת וברות עצבים אשר לא עשת וכרמים וזיתים אשר לא נתת והלכת ושבת הישמר לך ותשכח את יהוה אשר תישך מארץ מצרים מבית עבדים. Good morning, Dr. Punk. What are you up to today? Oh, I wish I could, I wish I could pronounce your Hebrew or your English with a Hebrew accent. Lagamishtacha shava. I don't actually speak Hebrew, unfortunately. Next year I will be going to Israel, and I will learn a bit of Hebrew. Atama davar. Yeah, I can't put in the vowels. But thank you. Your profile picture looks very beautiful. So it goes. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, I just read it. I mispronounced it. I would like to be, culturally appropriate and accurate for all those involved. Oh. I know a little bit. Yes, I know just a little bit. Just a little bit. All these prayers. Accents are accents. Sarah, what part of the world are you from? So, today we will continue our reading of the Descent of Inanna. So this is an old story. You grew up in California. And you still live there now? So, there's an old myth about the goddess's descent into the underworld to resurrect her lover. And we're going to read a version of it, this version, translated by Diane Wolkstein, a storyteller. And it details how the goddess confronts her sister, the sister of death, in order to rescue Dumuzi, her lover. You're in Arkansas. Looking for woods and you found it. Yeah, there's some good woods in Arkansas. Good morning, Batya. Hi. How are you? What are you up to today? It's nice to see you. From the great above, she opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, the goddess opened her ear to the great below. From the great above, Inanna opened her ear to the great below. My lady abandoned heaven and earth and descended to the underworld. Inanna abandoned heaven and earth and descended to the underworld. She abandoned her office of holy priestess to descend to the underworld. You can figure that out yourself, rather. In Uruk, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Badtibara, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. In Zablam, she abandoned her temple. In Adab, she abandoned her temple. In Nippur, she abandoned her temple. In Kish, she abandoned her temple. In Akkad, she abandoned her temple to descend to the underworld. Shabbat Shalom, Batya. She gathered together the 7 May. She took them in her hands. She took the May in her possession, and she prepared herself. She placed the Shugara, the crown of the steppe, on her head. She arranged the dark locks of hair across her forehead. She tied the small lapis beads around her neck, let the double strand of beads fall to her breast, and wrapped the royal robe around her body. She daubed her eyes with the ointment called Let Him Come, Let Him Come, bound the breastplate called Come, Man, Come, around her chest, slipped the gold ring over her wrist, and took the lapis measuring rod and line in her hand. Inanna set out for the underworld. Ninshibur, her faithful servant, went with her. Inanna spoke to her, saying, Ninshibur, my constant support, my Sukal who gives me wise advice, my warrior who fights by my side, I am descending to the Kur, to the underworld. If I do not return, set up a lament for me by the ruins. Beat the drum for me in the assembly places. Circle the houses of the gods. Tear at your eyes, at your mouth, at your thighs. Dress yourself in a single garment like a beggar. Go to Dimpur, to the temple of Enlil. When you enter his holy shrine, cry out, O Father Enlil, do not let your daughter be put to death in the underworld. Do not let your bright silver be covered with the dust of the underworld. Do not let your precious lapis be broken into stone for the stoneworker. Do not let your fragrant boxwood be cut into wood for the boxworker. Do not let the holy priestess of heaven be put to death in the underworld. Now, why is she going to the underworld? It's not quite clear, because that is what goddesses do. If Enlil will not help you, go to Ur. Go to the temple of Nana. Weep before the father Nana. If Nana will not help you, go to Eridu, to the temple of Enki. Weep before Father Enki. Father Enki, the god of wisdom, knows the food of life. He knows the water of life. He knows the secrets. Surely he will not let me die. Inanna continued on her way to the underworld. Then she stopped and said, "Go now, Ninshibur. Do not forget the words that I have commanded you." When Inanna arrived at the outer gates of the underworld, she knocked loudly. She cried out with a fierce voice, "Open the door, gatekeeper! Open the door, Neti! I alone would enter." Neti, the chief gatekeeper of Kor, asked, "Who are you?" She answered, "I am Inanna, Queen of Heaven, on my way to the east." Neti said, "If you are truly Inanna, Queen of Heaven, on your way to the east, why has your heart led you on the road from which no traveler returns?" Inanna answered, "Because of my older sister, Ereshkigal. Her husband, Gugalana, the Bull of Heaven, has died. I have come to witness the funeral rites. Let the beer of his funeral rites be poured into the cup. Let it be done." Neti spoke, "Stay here, Inanna. I will speak to my queen. I will give her your message." And with that, we will conclude for the day. Neti, the chief gatekeeper of Kur, the land of the underworld, will go and speak to Ereshkigal, and he will say, "My lady." "My lady, your sister has come to bother you." And she will say, "She can come in, but she must be naked." And then we will have a long sequence where Inanna removes all of her jewelry and all of her clothing, article by article, gate by gate. If you've heard little memes about, the seventh heaven, or the gates of the underworld, this is where that comes from. It's a 4,000-year-old meme, that there are stages to death, and in order to pass through, to speak with the Queen of Death. Yeah, she's wearing 7 pieces of clothes. We read that just now, right? Perhaps I should have emphasized it a little bit more. She placed the Shugara, the crown of the steppe, on her head. She arranged the dark locks of hair on her forehead. She tied the small lapis beads around her neck. The double strand of beads fall to her breast and wrapped the royal robe around her body. She daubed her eyes with ointment called "Come, let him come." She bound a breastplate called "Come, man, come" around her chest, slipped on the golden ring over her wrist, and took the lapis measuring rod in line with her hand. So as we continue reading the story, she will remove these, it's mostly jewelry, actually. There's a robe, and then the rest is articles of jewelry that she will remove one by one. Let's see. Yeah. The ring was removed. From her chest, the breastplate called "Come, man, come" was removed. So she does a little striptease for Ereshkigal, and then there's a confrontation at the end. It's a nice story. Yes, a breastplate named "Come." Exactly. They weren't trying to use any euphemisms back in the day. We read a version of this before. Were you here when we were reading this one about Ishtar? Yeah, what does it say in this one? They ripped off her garments, they poured pitch on her genitals. Gosh. We need to... Earlier, Dumuzi's dream, the descent of Inanna. Yes. How do I don't know these. How do I find the thing? Oh yeah, he took from her neck the lapis lazuli beads. He took the bracelet. The imperial robe. She painted around her eyes with cosmetic. "May he come." Yeah. So it's different. It's a slightly different translation. But it's basically the same story. The descent of Inanna. I'm sorry your bird is unwell. Inanna's with an I. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Because I don't write in cuneiform. Yes, you did catch the end. Thank you for the star, Steph. Yes, I have a friend to mention today. A friend of mine died a couple days ago. I just learned about it today. Good morning, Pamela. So, We will conclude our ritual today with Arati, which is a prayer of flame and light, and then Kadish, a prayer of mourning. We'll say Kadish for my friend Sabina, who died not long ago. Jaya Jayarati Vina Vinayaka Vina Vinayaka Shri Ganesha Jaya Jayarti Subramanya Subramanya Kartikeya Jaya Jayarti Venugopala Venugopala Venugola Papa Vidura Navanita Chora Jaya Jayarti Venkantaramana Venkantaramana Sankatarana Sitarama Radhe Shama Jaya Jayarti Gauri Manohara Gauri Manohara Bhavani Sankara Samba Sadashiva Uma Maheshwara Jaya Jayarti Raja Rajeshwari Raja Rajeshwari Tripura Sundari Mahalakshmi Mahasaraswati Mahakali Mahashakti Jaya Jayarti Anjaneya Anjaneya Hanumanta Jaya Jayarti Dattatreya Dattatreya Trimutriya Vatara Jaya Jayarti Adityaya Adityaya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarti Sanistaraya Sanistaraya Bhaskaraya Jaya Jayarti Sankarachaya Sankarachaya Advaita Gurave Jaya Jayarti Sadgurunata Sadgurunata Shivananda Jaya Jayarti Vishnudevananda 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 Jaya Jayarti Agastya Munaye Agastya Munaye Shriyama Priyaye Jaya Jayarti Ayapa Swamine Ayapa Swamine Dharma Shastave Jaya Jayarti Jesus Grave Moses Grave Buddha Grave Jaya Jayarti Muhammad Grave Guru Nanak Grave Samastya Guru Bho Namaha Jaya Jayarti Venugopala Natatra Suyobati Natandrakaratam Nema Vidyobati Kutoya Magni Tomeva Bantamanabandi Sarvam Tasya Basya Sumidam Bevanti Om Gange Kayamune Kaiva Govari Saraswati Narmade Sidukaveri Namastitam Namo Namaha Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandusha Saka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Travinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Kayena Vacha Manasandriyarva Buddhyat Manava Prakrite Sabhavad Karotmi Adyad Sakalam Parasmahi Narayana Iti Sarmarpayami Savadamam Pravichaya Mamikam Savadam Raja Am Svasava Papayo Bhukshaya Bhima Sucha. Whatever actions I perform with my body, speech, mind, senses, my nature, my intellect, or my emotions, all these I dedicate to you. Where'd you find this?
My grandma picked it up and I picked up a bunch of lawn chairs.
Coco, I haven't been posting new TikTok content because I'm working on other things that I wish I was not working on. But so it goes. So it goes. Yes, Dr. Punk. It's a late start today. I'm working on a thesis paper. It's torturous. I wish I had never gone to grad school. But you know, a 24-year-old boy made some decisions that a 32-year-old woman might regret. But such is life, and we do what we have committed ourselves to. Yeah, so today I woke up and was scrolling through Facebook, as one does, and I found out that a friend of mine from college named Sabina had died. She was a couple years older than me, and I admired her greatly. um, she was an activist and a community organizer, and she had moved to Haiti shortly after I knew her. She moved to Haiti and married down there and had a family. And she was probably the kindest person I've ever met. Or just like her orientation towards care on a geopolitical level, but also just an interpersonal level was yeah, I'd never met someone like that before, right? And we lived in the same collective house, right? So I lived in a collective house when I was in college, and put me on this track to live in this commune today, right? It's where I met my wife. So that house was a very special place, and Sabina, she left a very strong impression on me. Like I didn't actually, the age gap was large enough that when I was 19 and she was 22 or 23, it was a big difference, and she moved on. So I really only knew her for about a year, but she left a very strong impression about how someone might live a human life, or what it means to have compassion. And how old was she now? She was probably 33 or 34 when she died, maybe 35. I don't know exactly how old she was, but young. But I feel confident in saying that her life was full, that it had meaning, and accomplishment, right? Like I don't know the circumstances because we had lost touch, but yeah, she did more in her 30 plus years than many people do in 80. Yeah, so thinking of her today, wondering what her family is experiencing, and we will say Kadish for her, because that's what we do. We publicly grieve and we remember. Yeah, this is, I'm not that old, right? So Sabina, this is the first of my close friends to die in my life. So I suppose I'm lucky about that. Not that Sabina and I, we were close for a year, and then our lives diverged. But this is someone I lived with for a year who's no longer here, and I count myself lucky that I'm 32 years old before that happened, I suppose. Yeah, I'm sure I will lose many more friends. We all will. Because that's the way it works. We live and we suffer and we die. And we leave behind a pattern that continues, a pattern of life and death. So, say Kadish now to remember Sabina and all those who died before her and all those who died before them, and all those sources of grief and suffering that have been in the world since the world began and will not leave it until the world ends. And so we acknowledge that death is here with us as we say these words. Yidgadal vidgadash Shema Rabba Biama divrachiote viamlich malchute b'chaychon v'yamechon v'chayed kol be Israel Bagala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehi Shema Rabba Mevarach Le'alam Olmei Olmaya Yitbarach Vishtabach Vitbar Vitramam Vitnase Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shemei de Kudisha Berechu Le'la Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tushbechata V'Nechimata Demivan Biama Vimru Amin Yehi Shlamar Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Yachol Yisrael Vimru Amin Ose Shalom Bimramav Huya Ase Shalom Aleinu V'Yachol Yisrael Vimru Amin Ose Shalom Bimramav Huya Ase Shalom Aleinu V'Yachol Yisrael Vimru Vimru Amen. Thank you for joining me today and for saying these words. I will see you again soon to say these words again. And until then, I am going to steep in my slowness and experience the day as a day of melancholy for many reasons, not just the ones that I have articulated to you. So, if you appreciate this time that we spend together in the mornings, I'd appreciate it if you checked out the links in my bio. You can subscribe on Patreon or through TikTok, or leave a one-time tip, or you can say nice things like you do. And maybe one day I will achieve a level of comfort with this kind of advertising. It is my life that I'm asking that you help me live. And you do. You do help me live it. So thank you. Yeah, I will be here again very soon. And until then, have a lovely weekend. Farewell.